Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Exploring Elite Dangerous episode 37. My journey continues beyond the core of the galaxy and I've discovered a brand new nebula here. This was an area I was fully expecting someone else to have discovered before me, but it turns out I've been through quite a number of systems within the nebula and I've not yet seen another player's name attached to any of the planetary bodies at all. So it seems that perhaps I've at last found my very own nebula. This is by no means one of the huge nebula, but it is around 100 to 120 light years across. The journey through it has been very rewarding as it has contained a huge number of water worlds as well as one or two ammonia welds. Unfortunately there's no black holes here and I haven't found any Earth-likes either, but I guess there's still time for that. Aside from those few valuable planets, it is also full of high metal content planets, as we can see here. Now, these ones here are particularly tricky because from a distance they can make you think they are a water world. It looks very much like a water world, but unfortunately it isn't. Among the exploring community, these are what is known as false friends, those planets that look like either Earth-like water worlds or ammonia worlds from a distance, and you only realise when you get up close that they're not what you expect. Now you can listen out on the system map here. Each planet type makes its own distinct sound, so they are recognisable before you actually go to them. This system had a nice number of water worlds. There's a two there you can see, as well as that one there which was the false water world, the high metal content planet I just showed you. And there's also a water world over here. It looks like it may have an ammonia atmosphere, but we will know more on that when we actually get there. This is the high metal content planet that was in the same system. It's the first planetary body within this star system. I thought this one worth a look because it's very much Mars-like, at least Mars-like in our current age rather than the terraformed Mars of Elite Dangerous, and it provides lovely colours when compared to the backdrop of the nebula. Unfortunately there's still some low resolution textures on the cloud surfaces there, but nonetheless they make for nice planets to visit and they're worth a fair bit of money. And as we leave the planet we get a lovely atmospheric shot. I am slowly working my way back towards civilized space so that I can get there for Horizons. We do know the release date for the beta of Horizons, which is the 24th of November, but we don't know the final release of the game itself, but I suspect that's going to be mid-December, so I've still got a fair amount of time yet. Now, you've seen quite a few water worlds here if I've gone past them. This has been a very nice area for that regards. Nearly all of these have been found around K-class and G-class stars, and generally speaking those are the places you're more likely to find these types of planets, along with the Earth-likes. Now you can see some of the textures on the planet glitching there. That's a bit of an unfortunate side effect. It's something that's happened with patch 1.4, but these sort of views are still a little bit of a treat, and I took the risk here of getting a little bit too close to the planet. You can see the proximity warning going on there, but it's nice to see the sunset there. Just look at that. It's these sort of environments that are totally unrivaled when using virtual reality. I just cannot explain enough how good they actually are. Now it would be nice to see those sort of sunsets down on planets, but unfortunately we don't have worlds with atmospheres yet, or at least they won't be in Horizons. But we do know that some of the planets will have mist of various forms on there, so seeing the sunsets through those mists could be a particular treat. So here is that world with the coloured atmosphere, and it turns out that this one did indeed have the ammonia atmosphere as I suspected. Looking back at the system map again, we can see that the planets are now labelled. So we've got this water world here. It's actually a very vivid blue water world, very close to what you'd expect to see from an Earth-like. And here is another water world. Now neither of these are terraformable, they're not candidates for terraforming, which is a little bit of a shame. And this one here is the high metal content world. But the first planet here, the one I classed as a Mars-like type planet, this is a candidate for terraforming, so that is a nice bonus. Over here on the other side of the system, around the secondary star, we've got the water world I was just looking at, and that has got the ammonia atmosphere as I mentioned, and strangely enough it is also a candidate for terraforming. Now I say strangely enough because on initial inspection it seems like a significant distance from the star, but in reality it's just under 2 astronomical units, putting it well within this system's habitational zone. Now, on the journey toward this nebula, I actually noticed something really interesting in regards to the nebula shape, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, but for now we're just going to have a quick look at some of the other discoveries I found out here. This one was one of my favourite. It was an ammonia weld. Now, I've only actually found a few ammonia welds since I've been out here exploring. I've found far more Earth-likes than I have ammonia. I'm not actually sure if ammonia are more rare. Perhaps any of you that are in the know could let me know that. But these are always places I love to discover, despite the rather filthy looking brown seas. What I particularly like about this nebula is the way the galactic core shines through it. And we can see here how the nebula adds a red hue to that. The trip towards this nebula actually had quite a few nice finds as well. I actually discovered this lovely looking gas giant here, which is filled with ammonia based life. I made a time lapse of this gas giant because I wanted to catch the storms in motion on the planet's surface here. Now, that's something that did used to be in the game. I made a time lapse a long while ago showing that, and also Frontier released some concept footage of that actually happening quite a long while back. Now, as you can see here, that no longer seems to be in the game, so for whatever reason Frontier have decided to remove it. Now, you could argue that it's so slow in any way and that not many people were going to see it, but it's just another one of those details that managed to bring life to the galaxy. Who knows if we get it back, but my bet is that it's another one of those things in a long line of things that Frontier have decided to change in the pursuit of optimization. As I promised then, here is a look at the nebula from the outside. This is around about 100 light years away. I decided to call it the Dog Nebula. I think you can probably guess why. So here is another system very similar to the one we saw previously. It's got two water worlds here, one of them with an ammonia atmosphere and what looks like to be a water world that is actually a high metal content planet. So I'm going to go scan both of those and keep up with the exploration. Talking of exploration, I think it's going to dramatically change when Horizons arrives. Not only are we going to be looking for planets of value, we're going to be considering the actual surface content of those planets as well. Now, in the reveal that David Braben showed us last Friday, the one where the SRV is parked on the edge of a crater and the camera zooms right out, you see some mist down in the craters. But as the camera zooms out further away from the planet, there are these veins in the world itself. I talked about them in a recent edition of 3301. Now, some people are suggesting that they may be lava flows. I don't think they are quite lava flows. What I think they are is mineral deposits. We know that there's going to be minerals and collectibles down on the planet, what Frontier are classing as materials. And finding planets that have particularly valuable or rare minerals should be worthwhile. Now, Frontier are due to talk about that a bit more as I'm recording this, so as of this moment I don't know all the details. By the time you watch this video you'll probably know a little bit more about it than I do at the moment. But my hope is that when we're picking up the materials, they are not allocated cargo space. We can carry them in some other way, and that would be great because for explorers we could then come out this far and start collecting stuff without fear of reducing our jump distance. Of course, there's already concern that the SRV being carried in the cargo hold is going to reduce our jump distance significantly, and it's quite likely that a lot of us, especially those that come out tens of thousands of light years, are going to want to carry more than one SRV, just as redundancy and backup in case one of them gets destroyed. So here was an interesting find. This is the first Waterworld moon I've ever found. Up until now, all water worlds and Earth-likes and ammonias I've found have always been planets rather than moons. Moons, in this case, I determine or classed by those that are orbiting a larger planetary body. Here we've got a nice view of both the water world and the planetary body in the background. Although the distance here are quite far, the planet there in the background is actually a lot larger. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I am going to plan my way home. I want to get back in time for Horizons. This is roughly my current location. It's not my exact location. I don't want to reveal that quite yet. The reason for that is I've made a few significant discoveries and I actually want to keep them. I lost 4 months of discovery data a little while back, so I'm trying to build that back up. But at any rate, that's roughly where I am, and I'm not going to go cut back through the galactic core because navigating through there takes a very long time, and to be honest there's not all that many interesting things to see there. So what I'm going to do is skirt round the galactic core there to finally reach the human inhabited space here. And you can see that's my current location. This is on a different game account. Now there's another reason I want to skirt around the galactic core in the proximity to it that I just showed you, and we'll have a look at just why that is now. It's because this area is absolutely chock full of nebula, so it's going to make the trip back a little bit more interesting because there's going to be a whole lot of things to look at. Now I doubt I'll visit every one of these nebulas because there's a lot of them here, and these are just the ones that are on this particular part of the galactic plane. If I go down a little bit more, then there's going to be a whole lot more of them, but I'll certainly be skimming through quite a few of these and showing you what they all look like. There's quite a few different colours here, so I'm looking forward to that leg of the journey, and I'm looking even more forward to finally being able to get down on the planets in one of these nebula. But for now, that brings us to the end of this episode of Exploring Elite Dangerous. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant, and welcome to Path to Pleiades. We are now in stage 2 of the community goal to get a station inside the Pleiades Nebula. This stage features 2 individual community goals. One is combat orientated, the other is mining orientated. Before we get to the combat, I'll be heading out that way a little bit later. We are going to have a look at some of the mining here.